WSOU 89.5 FM. I'm Valentino, and I'm joined today with probably one of my favorite artists out there. We've got Shane Told from Silverstein. How you doing today, Shane?
Hey, such kind words. Nice to see you. I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
I know it's been about 2 years since we've caught up, and lots happened in those last 2 years. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, like so much and so little at the same time, right? Isn't that the truth? It's like just it's been totally crazy, but then there's also been just a lot of sitting around. So I don't know, man. I don't even know what to say about that one.
Exactly. And what's cool about Silverstein is you guys literally put out a record like in the week of lockdown. And then, boom, you got to start writing a new one pretty much ASAP because you can't really tour on it. So tell me a little bit about this new record, Misery Made Me. Is this like a lockdown project? How was this made?
Yeah, man. It was cool for other people. It wasn't cool for us to put out a record literally in the worst time in human history. So it was kind of funny, just our luck, classic. But I think one kind of silver lining of it was, even though, maybe people were really concerned about what was going to happen, worried about stocking up on canned foods and toilet paper, they were also listening to music, and I think that a lot of people weren't working, a lot of people were stuck at home, and a lot of people listened to Beautiful Place to Drown, and a lot of people really liked it. And even though we couldn't play shows to kind of promote it, and we couldn't play some of those songs live, the album still really resonated with people, which was cool. So we got home from the tour, and that got canceled on March 12th, and it was pretty depressing, to be honest. We were supposed to be out 20th anniversary, biggest shows you've ever played, all sold out, all that stuff. And we got home, and it was like, well, we just poured our hearts and souls into this last album. We worked so hard on it. Creatively, I think we all felt pretty tapped out. I mean, it wasn't like, okay, our record came out 5 days ago, let's write another one. It wasn't happening. So we spent a lot of 2020, I think, doing some self-reflection, trying to maybe enjoy a little bit of a break, because we hadn't had one ever. It's been, at that point, it was like 17 straight years of touring. So, once we kind of got bored of sitting at home, which was pretty quickly, that's when it was like, okay, do we have some ideas? Can we put some songs together? And I guess about the end of 2020 was when we came up with Bankrupt. That was the first track we put together. And then throughout 2021, that's when we started putting together Misery Made Me and the entire album, and finished it. So It's exciting.
Now, you mentioned a little bit of that tour, that 20th anniversary tour. I kind of want to talk a little bit about, obviously, that was a very special tour for Silverstein because it was 20th anniversary, playing 3 sets, an acoustic set, Discovering the Waterfront in Full, and Greatest Hits. And a lot of those shows got canceled because of COVID, obviously. But Silverstein, you guys really, really worked to give fans that experience. I know at the end of like 2021, December, you were still able to play Discovering the Waterfront for a few of those cities that missed it 2 years ago. I kind of want to ask, was that almost like such a tedious process to like hold on to, like, it's coming, I promise you will get this experience. You just got to wait a bit.
Yeah, it was pretty annoying, to be honest, and we just didn't know what was going to happen. Nobody did, So yeah, I said we canceled the shows, but we postponed them, and it's really funny looking back, because in March of 2020, we figured, okay, we're all going to go home and stay inside in like 2 weeks, man, and the virus will be gone, right? That's what we all said. And so, we ended up, I think, putting the shows to be rescheduled like 3 months later. We figured, oh, that's plenty of time. And then it was like, okay, just keep pushing back, until finally we were able to do them all, almost all of them, by the end of 2021. And it felt really good to follow through on that and to be able to give the fans that experience, because it really was the best show we'd ever put on. You know, it was like 2 full hours, 3 sets, you know, all the bangers and the classics, and of course some of the new jams. So everything just felt great to kind of complete that. And you know, now after a little bit of a break over the holidays, and now we're getting back into the new year, and you know, things seem to be coming back now most of the way. So it feels really good to kind of be like, all right, we got a new record, we're back. You know, it's all, this timing finally seems like it worked out.
And I even love at the end of those shows, you know, you guys like poured champagne because it was like, well, it's not 20, but it's 21. So, you know, we'll give it its 21st, which it kind of in a weird way worked out.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's been that way our entire career, you know. I mean, hope for the best, plan for the worst. You know, I mean, we've always had that, manage our expectations, you know, no expectations, you can't get disappointed, you know, be happy with the good, you know, and that's just always been our mantra with Silverstein. And like, you know, I mean, even before the pandemic, we were having like a pretty crazy 2020, everything from, you know, being in Australia during their like crazy fires and flooding. Then we went to Philippines where we were stuck there because there was a volcanic eruption. And that was before even the pandemic happened. So we're pretty used to those kinds of, you know, I don't know, whatever saying, Murphy's Law, or, you know, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And that's, you know, we just laugh at this point.
And, you know, I think that's just a tribute to like the versatility of the band, you know, that you guys are able to be like, all right, well, you know what, whatever obstacle comes our way, we'll adapt. We'll find a way to just overcome and, you know, get through this.
100%, man. 100%.
And I also love the way, again, like, you know, you had that tour of like, you know, 2 years in the making of finally getting to close out that 20th, 21st anniversary tour. 22 comes around, new era, new Silverstein. Tell me a little bit about sonically what this record is, because it does sound a bit like Beautiful Place, like evolved. You know what I mean? It sounds like a totally new Silverstein. I feel like we haven't really heard before.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we worked with Sam Guyana again on the production side, and he's one of the most talented, you know, I mean, producers for sure, but like, you know, just trying to capture big sounds, you know, he's amazing at it. And I think part of what we were trying to do with this record was kind of like more everything. That was sort of what we were saying. And, you know, I think as great as a record as Beautiful Place to Drown is, and how much I love so many of those songs, this record, I think, is a lot more complete dynamically. There is the heaviest of heavies and kind of some pretty mellow there too, you know. So it really was just an exercise in like having like an incredible musical journey and finding, okay, what can we do that really gets us excited. And have you heard the record?
I have not heard the record yet. No.
You have it. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, there are some songs, like a song called Die Alone, which is probably the heaviest song we've ever done. You know, kind of more based in like hardcore, you know, hardcore punk almost. And then there's a song like Misery, which is very stripped down, finger pick, acoustic, ambient. You know, and then you have kind of the like in the middle bangers that, you know, songs like Ultraviolet, which people have heard now. There's a song called Don't Wait Up, which is, I think our drummer Paul said it's his favorite song we've ever done. You know, there's songs like Our Song, which is kind of like an anthematic, like punk rock. We were calling it like a European festival anthem. So, you know, there's so much different stuff on this record, and Beautiful Place to Drown was kind of like, it was like 12 singles on an album. Whereas this album, I think, is just a lot more to explore and a lot more kind of, I don't want to say weird, but interesting things that we tried.
That is so interesting to hear you say that, because my biggest thing, what I've always told people about Beautiful Place to Drown, is it has some of my favorite Silverstein songs ever written, but it's not my favorite Silverstein like album. You know what I mean? And so hearing you say that, like, it was like that, it's just very interesting. And especially with this record, like already Bankrupt is the heaviest track we've heard since In a Place of Solace from the Wind Shift.
Yeah.
Now, you look at these features, you've got Comeback Kid, The Devil Wears Prada, all these like hardcore influences. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, both those guys, Andrew from Comeback Kid and Mike from Prada, I mean, they're just two great friends that we spent a lot of time with on the road over the years. I think we went on tour with Comeback Kid back in like 2007. And Prada, I mean, even before that. So, yeah, man, it's just really great to have your friends get excited about a song and have them perform on it. And, those are our old friends, but we have some new friends on this record too. Trevor Daniel, who's just an incredible artist. He probably put my favorite part of the record on this thing with his vocals. And of course, Nothing Nowhere, who is just a guy I have so much respect for, both as an artist and as a human being. Become pretty good friends with him, and it's just awesome, that we're able to do all these different things. Like, I wake up every day and I think about the band that I'm in, and the fact that we can put all of these different sounds on one album and it's not weird, and people enjoy it. It's kind of like the best band to be in, honestly. I can sing, I can scream, I can run around, I can break, or I can, just have a super mellow, toned down moment of reflection. So it's pretty awesome that not only we get to do that, but we get to bring in some help. And yeah. But back to your point, yeah, I think you're right. A Place of Solace was a very heavy lyrically and heavy sonically song. And Bankrupt definitely is probably one upped it. But I think there's two tracks you haven't heard yet. One is Die Alone. The other is called The Altar. That I'd say that those are probably heavier than Bankrupt.
Oh, wow. I am so excited. I really cannot wait to hear this. And you're right that a band like Silverstein is just so versatile. And it probably helps because, anybody that's ever listened to, your podcast knows you have a very versatile music taste. You don't just listen to metal. You don't just listen to punk. You don't just even listen to like, pop punk. You have a very eclectic genre, which is kind of what I want to get into next. As a subscriber of the All Access Club myself, I want to encourage, before I even get into this question, all of our New Jersey, New York listeners listening in, Lead Singer Syndrome available on all podcast forums. Definitely check it out. Really, really amazing stuff. I kind of want to ask a little bit about, so I interview maybe like one or two artists a month, maybe, and it's like tough to keep up. It's kind of exhausting to do all that research. You do an artist a week. I am genuinely fascinated. Like, how do you do all of the research, all of the maintenance to keep it up at that high velocity?
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, it really depends on the artist. If it's an artist that I'm very familiar with, that saves a little bit of time because I don't need to, go back and look through all their entire discography and memorize what years they put out what records or whatever, which does happen with an artist that, I'm not as familiar with. But I think, the key is really trying to find a narrative with what is the point of the conversation. What am I trying to get at? What is intriguing about this artist, to really just kind of get a good spin on it. And that's my main goal. But yeah, man, I put my time in, I put my work in. Usually like the last half an hour before I'm doing the interview, I am like freaking out, cramming in as much last minute stuff as I can. But for the most part, I feel like all the interviews I've done, and it's over 300, they've all been pretty good, and I'm pretty proud of them all. And the podcast has been a lot of fun, meeting new friends and learning so much about the craft of singing and performing and being a front man or front woman. And, it's been a hell of a ride.
I love it. I've heard about like 200 of them, I'd say, and I'll testify. There's not a bad one, out there. But I imagine, like, when you interview like Dream Theater or Alice in Chains, that's like 30 years worth of music versus, another incredible band like Fame on Fire with like, kind of one record out. It's tough to navigate that.
Yeah, it's different, right? Because you can't really think of it as like, okay, now we've got to cram with someone like Alice in Chains. Like, now we've got to cram 30 years of stories into 1 hour. Whereas with Fame on Fire, it's 3 years of stories. You kind of can't think of it like that, you find your narrative and you go from there. And that's really, I think, the key, with someone like Brian from Fame on Fire, like they're a cover band turned originals, right? And that's interesting because that doesn't happen that often, right? And then with Alice in Chains, obviously, like William took over for Lane and like came into this role where the band was huge, and like, how is that emotionally, right? So you just take you go from there, and like, it doesn't have to be, okay, what was the recording of this album like in 2001? Like, it's you don't have to get into all the nuts and bolts of the artist career to make a compelling conversation. Every single artist, even a band that started last week, can have a really great story. You just have to find it.
That is beautiful. That is really amazing. Because like, I always get like, when I interview artists, I get like anxious if I haven't heard everything they've ever written. And I'm sure, as when you do the velocity of the amount of interviews that we do, you can't listen to it all. It's just not possible. Like, there's not enough hours in the day. But just like, you're right, just finding their story, just finding their spark is kind of the key.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think pouring over song after song is not as helpful as, trying to learn about their life story, and it's funny, sometimes you can kind of like, I don't know, you can kind of figure out like musically where they're going more from what you know about them as people than just listening to a bunch of songs in a row. But of course, I mean, I'm usually listening when I'm doing research. I'm usually listening to the artist over and over again too. So, you want to at least be familiar with the new stuff.
Exactly. And another thing you have, this one I've heard every episode of, this is an amazing part of this segment, is the New Noise with Mike Howell. Really amazing stuff. I know so many people that have just learned some of their favorite bands of all time just from like all the music knowledge. How did you first meet Mike, and like, how did that idea come to be?
Well, Mike is incredible. I mean, wow, what a musical, what a fan of music, first of all, right? I mean, that guy is like, music is his life, even more than me. Just an amazing person, amazing human being. We met in the All Access Club, actually. So, after about a year into the podcast, I started a Patreon, and we've been going 5 years now, I guess, on the All Access Club. And Mike was a member, and like, pretty quickly I realized, okay, this guy's really hip to all the new records coming out, and he knows what's up. And he started making posts in the All Access Club Facebook group, just, saying, hey, this is the list of all the records coming out. So when COVID started and we were all sitting around, not much to do, I said, hey man, would you would you be down to try to do a little top 5 records of the week kind of countdown? And he said, absolutely, I'd love to. And we've been doing it every week since. And it's been what, a year and a half or something now? It's pretty crazy, maybe longer. So it's been pretty cool. I look forward to every Wednesday to talk to Mike. He makes the lists. I don't have any say in what his top 5 is. I let him do that 100%. And once in a while, there'll be something that he misses that I'll chime in about, but that's pretty rare. Yeah, we're going to be talking tonight, 6:00. We do it live on Twitch sometimes. Tonight we'll be live on Twitch. So we hop on there. We just, talk about all the records and some singles and everything coming out. And it's been a great way for me as a music fan to learn about a lot of new artists that I don't know about, because sometimes I think a lot of people that get to be a little bit older, you get a little stuck in your ways. You start listening to the same, 10 favorite records over and over again. And, you find yourself putting on like Green Day Dookie and you're like, wait a second, I don't need to listen to this. I've listened to this a million times. I don't need to listen to it 1,000,001. Like, let's find something new. So if you're looking for new music that's really, really great, then yeah, check out our podcast, The New Noise, it's on the Lead Singer Syndrome feed. So it's super easy to find.
And you're so right that even just like in fans of the rock scene, I almost feel like rock sometimes has such hard borders of like, I'm a pop punk fan, I'm a metal fan, I'm a post-hardcore fan. You know what I mean? Whereas it's nice to have an outlet like that where it's like, I can hear about Alpha Wolf and Chunk No Captain Chunk. You know what I mean? Like back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of just very refreshing to see, because you don't see that too much in the rock community.
No, I mean, Mike and I have different tastes. And we grew up on different music, and we grew up in a different era. He's a lot younger than me, right? So it's funny sometimes how our opinions differ and how our opinions are the same. And when we both agree on something, you can be pretty sure that it's pretty good, But yeah, no, it's true. I mean, Mike is like way more into extreme metal than I am. I'm way more into like punk than Mike is, but then, we both love like Lord, and
Yeah.
and some of those like I don't know, EDM artists and stuff that we both like. So our music tastes are all over the place, and I think for a show like this, I think it's important because it's not the top 5 metal albums of the week. It's the top 5 albums of the week, any genre, right? So that's how it is.
Absolutely. And diving into just one more question about the Lead Singer Syndrome podcast. I want to thank you again for talking to me about that. As I said, huge fan. If anybody that hasn't heard about it, you guys do have a Patreon. It's super, super helpful. Definitely recommend checking that out. There's so much cool all access stuff that you can hear. And it really just is a very, very awesome experience. So I urge all of our WSU listeners to check that out. My question is, have you ever met that one fan? You told me about this. You talked about this in the podcast, I think a few times, where they let you sleep over their house and then a bat licked you and then the bat was going crazy. I want to know, have you ever seen that fan again? Or was it just that the one-time thing and you've never seen them?
Well, let me tell the story so people are like, wait, what?
Of course. I apologize.
Well, yeah. So you want the short or the long version? We got time?
We got time.
All right. So this is going back to probably around 2004, 2005. We'd been touring in a van for a few years. And we'd slept on a lot of floors, but at this point we kind of graduated to, we were doing well enough that we were usually getting a hotel room. And I mean, still sleeping on the floor of the hotel room, but at least going to a hotel, where we had kind of our own space, and we weren't like having to barge in on anyone's life. Right. So we played in Prince Edward Island, Canada, which is a very remote province on the East Coast. You have to take this like super long bridge to get there. It's a pretty crazy place. So we played the show, and I said, hey guys, how about for old time's sake, we crash on the floor, we'll save a little bit of money, and like hang out, whatever. So we find a place to stay, and it's like a party house, like a student kind of party house. So um I'm like sleeping, and it's, I'm not really in the mood to party really anyway, but it's like probably like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And this guy who we're staying with, their like roommates come home, these two female roommates. They have like a food fight in the kitchen at 3 a.m. And I'm like, oh man, I just want to sleep. But like, you can't tell someone to shut up when you're in their house, right?
Yeah.
So like, I'm getting like hit with like bananas and everything, whatever. So eventually it stops, and I go to sleep, and I feel something like licking my face, and I wake up and I'm like, what? And first thing I think is like, are these like
Weird
food
fans.
fighters
Yeah.
like doing something to me when I'm sleeping? So I'm like, that was like weird, just like nothing around. So I close my eyes again. I don't know, a little while later, half an hour, I feel it again, and I'm like, what is that? Feels like someone licked my face. Well, I saw a bat fly across the living room, and I was like, oh man, hell no. I was like, I got to get out of here. So I get up, I pack my stuff up, and I go to the van, and I find a room and place in the van to sleep. There's already a couple people sleeping in there. So I find a place to lay down, and I don't want to tell everybody about the bat because I don't want everyone to come in the van,
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll tell them in the morning. So in the morning, we're all like at the van, like, getting ready to go, and everyone's freaking out about something. And I'm like, I have the craziest story. And they're like, no, man, we have the craziest story. So like, there was like a bat in the fish tank, and like, we don't know how it got in there. And it was like flapping around in like this much water. And our merch guy is named Cheapy. He like saved the bat. And I was like, wait a second. No. So I told my story about the bat, and I don't know how the bat got in the fish tank.
Yeah.
So they start, because it was covered. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I scared the bat and it like somehow got in the fish tank, but like, so then they're like, wait, you put the bat in the fish tank. You tried to kill the bat. Like, I did not try to kill the bat. So yes. But to answer your question, no, I never saw any of those people again. Never heard from them again. This was kind of in the era before there was social media or anything like that. So, no, but, if they're listening to this, well, thank you for having us. Anyway, we appreciate it.
And like, that's a real fear of like, yeah, when you're asleep, having something just lick you like that is a sensation that I hope to never experience in my entire life. And nonetheless, just
No.
like a bat, a creature like that. But that is so funny.
Another time we were staying at Will from Aiden's house in Seattle, and he lived in like a basement apartment. And I was laying there, and a rat or a mouse, I don't know which, crawled across me when I was sleeping, which was not great. And then I told Will, and he's like, oh yeah, bastard keeps eating all my bagels. I was like, no, man, like, get rid of it.
Yeah,
please.
Just so nonchalant.
Yeah. But so yeah, sleeping on floors, not the most glamorous, and luckily it's been quite a long time since we've had to do that.
That is awesome. That is so cool. Well, switching gears a bit, I'm going to go into the brand new record, Misery Made Me, out May 6th. I want to ask my last question for you today. First off, before we even get into this, thank you so much for talking to me today. We're playing the new tracks on WSOU nonstop. We're playing them on specialty shows, regular rotation. We really, really appreciate, the support Silverstein has given us. And so thank you again.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. Thank you. It's exciting time for our band. Like we talked about earlier, it's kind of, start of a new chapter, and the world opening up, and kind of all these things happening at once. And we're really excited about the songs.
I'm telling you, as you always say, if you're not feeling like you're putting your best material out, you're doing it wrong. And I definitely think this is the best material to date. So this is very exciting stuff. I kind of want to ask a little bit about the album color scheme. I feel like we've never had this kind of pastel blue in a Silverstein record, and it's so different from the record kind of color scheme you guys have done in the past.
Yeah, that's true. The Wind Shifts was kind of that bluish color, I guess, a little bit, but yeah, this is definitely more bright. I don't know. I mean, we weren't really sure what to do with the cover direction, with the art. It's always difficult to kind of sum it up. What you're trying to do conceptually, but also you don't want to be too on the nose with it, which is a challenge. But we had Wyatt Clough, who has done a lot of our music videos. He took this photo of this person, and there was something about it that spoke to us. And it's cool too, because the cover is not just a photo, it's also a video. So it's a moving image. So you can see her face, because it was actually shot like that. So that's like a new thing that they're doing now. I know Apple is really excited about it, is having these kind of moving cover art images. But it was cool because we were able to plan for it. So, obviously it is also a still image, but the fact that it's actually like a little video of that photo shoot that resulted in the photo is kind of something different. But yeah, I mean, I think the brightness and the word misery across your face, I mean, I think all those things it's kind of an interesting duality there. And I think that it really does work when you hear the record.
Absolutely. I love to see it. And I've actually never even heard of that, like an album cover that moves. That's such a cool concept.
Yeah, you're going to be seeing it a lot. It is a cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the future now. That's insane. Well, again, thank you so much for talking with me today. Again, new record, Misery Made Me, out May 6th. And for all of our New Jersey, New York listeners, you guys are going on tour with Beartooth, The Devil Wears Prada, and Era. It's going to be a crazy lineup. Silvertooth returns.
Right.
April 29th, 2020 in Trenton, New Jersey. Again, that's April 29th. So you guys don't want to miss out on that.
Yeah, that's going to be a big show, special show there in Trenton. It's like, yeah, I mean, I know not that many people live in Trenton, but it's close to everywhere. So Hopefully people make the drive. It's going to be worth it for that lineup. Wow. It's crazy. And yes, Silvertooth lives.
Silvertooth is very much alive, and that one's like an arena venue, so that's going to be extra cool to just see it in that setting. But
big rock show. Yeah, we're excited.
All right, well, thank you so much again.
Thank you.